Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree? Yes. You are knowing what you are wanting, more or less, evolving, becoming more, clearer, sharper, different. Contrast is serving you. What we have noticed is that you eagerly acknowledge the value of contrast when there isn't much. We see you stepping into the category with so many others where you really would like to control some circumstances, because after all, when you are observing something that makes you feel good, it seems like the better choice than when you are observing something that causes you to not feel good. And we can see how your logic would bring you round to the assumption that a good condition feels good and a bad condition feels bad, so let's control the conditions so that we can all feel good. It's impossible, have you noticed? It's an attempt in futility. It's a life waster. So, in time, after sometimes years of hopelessly attempting the impossible, of controlling conditions, some of you come round wisely to the awareness that your job isn't to control conditions. Your job is to focus upon that which causes a good feeling when you focus upon it. And mind your business about things that don't feel good. Don't try to control the world. Don't worry about what's happening everywhere, because what's happening in another place, or even what's happening in your place, that does not please you as you give your attention to it, from your broader non-physical perspective, you know, is not your business. From your inner being's perspective, if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't have anything to do with you. Because whatever you are giving your attention to is vibrating, and as you give your attention to it in this inclusion-based universe, you include it in your vibration, and so you can choose something that causes you to reverberate in such fantastic harmony with your source that your heart is singing all of the time, or you can choose something to focus upon that is gut-wrenching or unsettling. You do have those choices. And when you realize that you have the choice of choosing moment by moment, the more you notice that you have the choice and the more you deliberately exercise that choice and choose those things that feel good and therefore connect you with the whole of who you are, then the less inclined you are to try to control the conditions around you. And that's a happy day for you. Because when you discover that it is not your work to control the conditions around you, you are finally free. It's good for those around you, too. Because nothing is more frustrating for you than to need to do the impossible. When you want to control the conditions, and you can't, because you can't, and then you are frustrated because you can't, but you need to feel good, you're sort of a prickly sort of being, hard to be around. But when you discover the freedom of choosing thought, which connects you with who you are and causes you to radiate the powerful, pure, positive energy that is you, your heart is singing and you are so good to be with. There are 3 steps in the creative process. The first step is ask for what you want. You can ask with your words, and often you do. But your asking is really happening on a vibrational level. And there is nothing more delicious than to be asking on a vibrational level with words that match. Because then you are aware of what you're asking for. And as we hear you say so accurately, when you ask, it is always given. The second step is answer the request. That's not your job in your leading edge human form. That is the job of source energy and universal forces. Law of attraction is the manager of that. But that answer always comes, and it always comes swiftly and accurately and precisely and fully in the moment of your asking. So when you ask, it is always given now. It surprises many people because they say, can't be right. I know I've been asking, and my stuff has not shown up yet. And we say, that's because you are unaware of your job in the third step. And the third step is, you must be in the receiving mode of what you're asking for. You have to be a vibrational match to your own desire. Or, in this vibrationally based universe, you're not letting it in. So, when you ask for something, usually, the asking is born out of a contrasting experience where your vibration is not pure. So in the middle of the asking, you are rarely in the receiving mode. But that's all right, because step 1 is step 1 and step 3 is step 3. There's a whole step that has nothing to do with you in between. We think the thing that confuses so many of you is that you think that you are asking with your words, and when you ask with your words, if the answer is coming, it should come right now, and it should be in a form that you could recognize. And when it doesn't come right now in the middle of your asking, you assume that something has gone wrong. And we say, nothing is wrong. You're just in step 1. When you get in step 3, you'll let it in. So, as you are moving through your day, and you notice that you have more desire or need for money than you actually have money, and a big bill has come, so you have this conflicting feeling where you want to spend it for this, but you should spend it for this, and even if you do pay it where it belongs, there's not enough to really go around in the way that you are wanting it to. And in this frustrating moment of weighing the pros and cons of your experience, you fire off a rocket of desire big time. You've asked in a very powerful way. But the answer, even though it's given, is not received because you are more aware of not having enough money than you are of having enough money. In your anxiety, you're not in the receiving mode. In your anger or blame or guilt, you're not in the receiving mode. In your awareness of not enough money, you are not in the receiving mode for enough money, so more money can't come. Not right now. Nothing can change. Now, you've asked. Source energy hears you clearly, adores you fully, understands your worthiness entirely, and answers swiftly. So the answer is not just on the way, it is given. In other words, everything's lined up. The money should be there now. Why isn't it? Because you're ornery. You're worried. You're frustrated. You've got your receiver set to a whole different channel. And so even though the circumstances are lined up, everything's there for you, you're zigging while your stuff is zagging, and you say, nobody ever answers my request. And we say, oh yes, your request is fully answered, but you have just been confused about step 1 and step 3. Is it wrong for you to launch your desires from a place of negative emotion? Certainly not. It's what this contrasting universe is all about. You said, I will go forth in this variety, and out of this variety will be born focus within me. The only thing that is going wrong, if anything is going wrong, and nothing is really going wrong, but in the way you mean something is going wrong, is once you launch a desire, if you do not soon become a vibrational match to what you want, you're going to hold yourself apart from it until you do. So the key is, once you become consciously aware that you want something different than what is, you have to, through the power of your mind, practice until you achieve a different vibration about that subject. You've practiced the vibration that you have, that's why things are going as they are. And if you continue to offer thoughts, if you continue to think like you've been thinking, which is what some call holding beliefs. We don't like to make it sound that permanent, because all a belief is a habit of thought, a thought you keep thinking. So if you keep thinking the thoughts that you've been thinking, then you will continue to offer the vibration that you've been offering, which means you'll continue to live the life that you've been living. If you want something different, you have to think a little different. You have to feel a little different, which means you have to look less at what is and more at what is coming. The other day, Jerry and Esther met with a very lovely man who has started some preliminary work on a new house for them. It's a house that they plan to build much later, but they know where they want it, and so they've begun the initial phase. And so he brought them some papers, and he said, take a look at this, and we'll meet again, and let me know what you think. And so Jerry and Esther were at home for about 5 days. And during those 5 days, Jerry went to a sort of virtual world. He took those plans, and with the contractor that's working on another building, he staked it out with posts and strings. And he stood in every room, in every closet, on every porch, under every tree, tried to look out of every window. He walked through his virtual house. Esther said, come back to me, O husband of mine. Come back to me and live with me here. But Jerry missed Thanksgiving altogether, as he spent his week doing virtual laundry, washing virtual dishes, parking in virtual garage, and moving through virtual space, until in his vibration and in his mind's eye, that beautiful house is now standing and has already experienced vast renovation. We want you to begin to enjoy the fun of going to a virtual reality, because that is the work that must be done before the reality can join it. In other words, you must imagine it and feel it and be there, and most significantly, it must be a more dominant vibration than what is, if what is going to shift. Because what is. Write that down. What is really has your attention, doesn't it? What is sort of in your face. What is causing knee-jerk responses from you. What is keeps perpetuating the vibration of what is. So if you keep perpetuating the vibration of what is, guess what tomorrow is? Pretty much like today is. And for the most part, today is grand. We know it is. We see you moving through your lives, living in your bodies, loving in your relationships. This is a glorious time to be physically focused in this leading edge environment. We know your lives are good, but we also know that you are insatiable creators who will never get enough, and the reason we know that is because we're in you, and that's how we feel. So friends, since there is step 1, step 2, step 3, we think it is such a good idea for you to stop beating up on yourself when you're in step 1. Step 1 is a natural step. And we think it is a very good thing when you say, it's all right for me to feel this frustration. It is part of the honing process, but then get off of it. Let the frustration launch the rocket, but then as quickly as you can, turn your attention to the rocket and start enjoying the fun of the virtual reality. Start enjoying the fun of your imagination. Start enjoying the fun of giving your attention to where you're going, because where you're going can be infinitely more pleasurable than where you are. Now, we know that this now is limited. If you were to give only your attention in any point in time to where you are right now, it's a little piece of your life, isn't it? Now is very brief in comparison with all that past. And because often you think that those are your only two choices, you spend so much time focused in your past that you do not really productively use the power of your now as effectively as you could.